Donald Trump making his victory speech tonight. President-elect Trump, 45th President of the United States. We're going to continue to get into this with our panel of experts. We are now adding Hillary Kramer. She's an expert in the financial markets, and she joins us now to talk about what we've been seeing all morning. In fact, Hillary, I was sitting here at the desk at around 11 p.m. The Dow futures started to go crazy, get extremely volatile, at one point going down 650 points. This we'd seen over the last couple of days. Whenever it looked as if Donald Trump was in striking distance, the markets would get volatile. Now everything is down. The Nikkei is down, the FTSE is down, Hong Kong Seng Index is down as well.
Okay, so the market does not like surprises, and everything about Donald Trump's persona is about surprises, unknown, volatility. And Wall Street was very invested in seeing Hillary Clinton win. Even though she ran on the left, she was really Wall Street's candidate. She was really big business and private equity and venture capital's candidate. So now we have Donald Trump, who is going to fire Janet Yellen at the Fed. That means that we should see rates start to be tightened up. If rates are tightened, that means mortgages are going to be more expensive. That means that the whole housing market, which is part of the economic development that we've had since the 08-09 crisis, could also start to fall apart. Then there's the protectionism. Vlad, that protectionism is really frightening, and that's why in Asia the markets went down, because trade we are global. We are a global trading partner. I mean, everyone is now networked together, and if it means that we are no longer going to be trading with China or with Japan as freely, that we have to actually renegotiate all of these contracts, that means that everyone's future revenues will be less. That means that the value of stocks needs to go down now and reflect that.
You know, Hillary, when the Brexit vote came out and everyone on Wall Street had sort of thought it would turn the other way, people were so panicked and freaked out in the markets, but it recovered. And everyone said if Trump wins, a lot of people were saying it's going to be a financial apocalypse. I mean, could we expect something similar to Brexit? Maybe a bit of a tank, a little bit of a drop,
okay,
then it recovers.
So everyone should know, yes, we're going to have a recovery. We lived through Brexit. The market seized up. It was an absolute disaster, and it was exactly what we said it was. We sat here in this set and said, please do not panic. This is when you open your purse and say, hey, this is my big buying opportunity. This is the time I'm going to go out and selectively pick up companies I want to buy and own for the long term. This does and will pass. Because remember, ultimately, it's very possible that Donald Trump will be able to bring our economy on certain levels back the way he promised. So, for example, infrastructure spending, that was one of his platforms, infrastructure, getting America back to work. If indeed all of these things happen, then we should end up being a stronger country. And, who really believes that he's going to try to disassemble years, of trading? And remember, with Brexit, that's what it was all about. It really was about the trade. That's really what it came down to.
Well, TPP was one of his big platforms. He is against it, although interestingly enough, Mike Pence was for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. But if he follows through with that threat, what does that mean for trade?
It means that trade's going to be much more difficult, and we could see a lot of companies have to renegotiate and figure out on the line of everything from, their own inputs to inventory control. Everything changes if that indeed is a problem. We do have to consider, though, we do now have a Republican, Senate, yes, House, and presidency, which means we will see Obamacare repealed, not just kind of reworked. Because if we had the kind of, there just won't be the conflict that would slow that down. So expect some changes there. But maybe we're going to see insurance companies start to do better because there might be more competition. That was one of the platforms that Trump really ran on. No one should really worry. Donald Trump will be a fine president. He's going to be a great leader in the country, and it's really up to so many other areas for us to excel. He just cannot make mistakes, like, for example, do anything rash with the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve has been printing money, and we have been surviving on an economy that is all about the cash coming off of the printer, and if that stops, we could really
Kevin, to Hillary's
hiccup.
point about the fact that Obamacare is going to be repealed, I mean, is that really a possibility? What kind of Republicans have now made it in? Because so much of the establishment Republicans were not on board with him.
Well, if the markets are looking for certainty, they should take a look at what the House Republicans have put forward. Paul Ryan has an agenda to repeal and replace Obamacare. That's where I would start to look. And I think between negotiations between Donald Trump's policy team, because Donald Trump's not a policy wonk. He doesn't know much about Obamacare, I'm sure. He knows what he doesn't like about it. He just doesn't like the idea of President Obama's health care plan. So he's going to repeal it because he promised to do so. But to get into the policy specifics of it, I would take a look at what the House has already put forward.
Let me ask this. Liz, it's interesting to a lot of people that Bernie Sanders attacked Hillary Clinton for being favorable to Wall Street banks. And there's always been this idea in this country that it's the Republicans that are close to the bankers and the fat cats. I think that's the meme that people have when they think of old school Republicans and, they're all in bed with Wall Street, when in reality, Hillary Clinton was very, very much giving speeches to Wall Street banks that Bernie Sanders attacked her for. Is it interesting to you that maybe 10 or 15 years ago, Hillary might have been a moderate Republican and not really a Democrat? It was Bernie Sanders who pushed her more left.
To that point, I'm not surprised that she did have a warmer relationship with Wall Street than Donald Trump did, because as you were saying, Wall Street does value predictability, and that is not a word that comes to mind when we talk about Donald Trump. And look, she was a U.S. Senator from New York, and U.S. Senators from New York have good relationships with Wall Street. There's no doubt that there has been a populist uprising in this country, both among Democrats and Republicans, and that has led to this anti-Wall Street fervor. So it did her no favors there. Just going back to the point, though, about repealing Obamacare, just because a politician promises to do something doesn't mean they'll follow through with it. And I think that Republicans would be wise to look at the real ramifications of taking away health insurance from 20 million people.
Hillary, when the markets open tomorrow morning here in the U.S., what will you be watching?
I'm going to be watching for opportunities. I want to look at those defense stocks, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. The companies that have both. They make tanks, but they're also into cybersecurity.
Why defense and cybersecurity?
Because Donald Trump will build a strong military, but do everything he can not to send the military and send boots on the ground. Okay, that was another one of his platforms. He will make sure that that's one of the ways that jobs start to get generated again. So that's a big opportunity. Those are great companies. They continue to thrive. There's a dividend yield there. It's a chance to pick those up. I may be looking at some of the pharmaceutical companies, the biotechnology companies. Remember, it was Hillary Clinton that started this issue with the pricing of medications being so high. So with that out of the way, it doesn't mean that someone else won't pick up on it, but we might see some of those companies come back. Also look at cement companies. Okay, that's what I'm going to be looking at, because a big wall now is
Today, what about Caterpillar or companies that build walls? Huh?
One of the things we should tell our viewers who are watching, who may be waking up with the news that Donald Trump is now the 45th president of the United States and are worried about the stock markets as they see the volatility, we don't ever say that you should try to time the market. If there is some volatility today and even into the next couple of days, talk to your financial advisor.
Absolutely.
You don't want people making decisions just because of what happened tonight.
Right. That's absolutely right. Do not panic, and do know it may get a little worse before it gets better. You got some real big, fast money that's going to be unwinding. Don't buy into that. Be patient.